Please welcome Alex Ramirez. Also in the GTD Pro class, in the Chevy Corvette C8R number 3, Jordan Taylor. In the GTD class, in the Paul Miller Racing BMW M4 GT3 number 1, Brian Sellers. And your hometown team, we're very happy to be here at Virginia because every time I come in, I always pass their shop on the way on in. Please welcome in the Team Hardpoint Porsche 911 GT3R number 99, Rob Ferriol and Catherine Lane. Now, speaking about the home team hero right here, a lot of people do. He's like, oh boy. A lot of people might not know this. Rob came from being a Marine, you know, doing special ops and everything. So first off, we want to thank him for his service. Yeah. Now the question is, how do you go from doing special ops to running a Porsche team? Tell us how that happened.
There's a lot of turns that go between those two. I think there's a lot that went on between those two periods in my life, most of which was very business oriented, but when I found my way to VIR, found my way into motorsport, I fell in love with it as a sport. And I love cars and I love going fast, but I also fell in love with the camaraderie of the paddock, all the drivers, the teams, the crew, the kind of unity of purpose, unity of mission within the teams. It's all very similar to what we did and kind of what we embodied in the military. So it's very close to what I'm used to.
Now, a lot of people always think it's unattainable for them to, you know, just get a car and then start a team, or get a car and just race, even on a smaller scale. Is it correct that you bought a Porsche, then you went to Coffee and Cars, and then you found out about the whole stuff? Tell us a little bit about that community.
I did. So I treated myself one year early on in my last business, and I always wanted a Porsche since I was a kid. And so I found an 8-year-old used Porsche 911 out in Asheville somewhere, drove out, bought it, came back, and I found out about Cars and Coffee and started going to Cars and Coffee, and then I saw there was another 911 there that had a bunch of track racks on the front and it had a roll bar inside. And I said, what's that about? And he said, well, we do track days. Well, where do you do track days? I said, well, up at VIR. It's hour and a half north. And so I came here that spring, March of 2015, and did a 3-day HPD track weekend, and that was all she wrote.
Fell in love with it. So how did racing originally, then getting onto building the own team, how did that happen?
I mean, it's the slippery slope that most gentlemen drivers will all attest to throughout the paddock. But I started the track driving, doing the DE stuff, and then I'm a bit stubborn, so decided to just teach myself and go racing instead. And so I club raced for a couple of years, and then just inertia brought me into IMSA. And then as I left my last business, I kind of found this new home in the paddock and a new family in the paddock, and so I decided that I was too young to retire, and the next business that I would do would be inside the motorsport space and try to make a mark here.
So your teammate, Catherine Legg, who needs no introduction, tell us how you decided, because you're kind of the boss. Tell us how you decided to focus. Well, Catherine's always the boss, but tell us how you got hooked up with Catherine and chose her as your driver.
So, end of 2020, as we were coming out of the Audis and moving back into Porsches leading into the 21 season, there was an effort to put together an all-female program again after I think the gear program was the year before. And so I've got daughters. I was in the military with women. I know women and have family members that fly helicopters and fly jet airplanes and go to Iraq and Afghanistan. And so to me, it was a concept that was foreign to me, that why wouldn't there be more women in the paddock? Why wouldn't there be more women on the racetrack? And so I kind of aligned myself with that program and with that philosophy. And so we supported the program going into 21. we couldn't get the funding to finish it out as a full season program, and so I made a decision then to put my money where my mouth was, and brought Catherine over to the, at the time, the 88 car, and to be my co-driver and be, you know, a co-ed team out there full season. I think we're actually the first completely co-ed team to run Daytona last year. And you know, we've gotten along great. I think personalities mesh really well. I'm a fan of hers, always have been. And I think she is a great role model for all the girls out there that want to do something great. And so I feel privileged to be able to help provide a platform to do that.
Awesome, that's so good. Now, tell us how it's like to work with Rob.
Well, I haven't been fired yet. Although I was threatened earlier today when I didn't do the lap time I could have. No, it's been really interesting, and it's been great because it's a different dynamic. When you come from driving different cars and you have different professional teammates or gentleman driver teammates, it's difficult to know like how much to try and coach somebody or to try and like bring somebody like. I have all this knowledge of doing this for years, and when you're driving with somebody who's been also doing it for that long, you know, it's a different dynamic to when you're driving with somebody who literally got in a Porsche like 3 years ago and decided that he's gonna go racing. So he's very self-motivated and self-taught, and sometimes I feel a bit. Sometimes I feel a bit bad, like, hey, do you want to maybe brake a little bit later in turn two? It's like, I'm braking later than you are. So it's been interesting, it's been fun. It's also been really fun learning about the business side of things because as a new team, you come in and you're kind of invested in building up a new project and with the people, and it's a different way of going about things, and one that I've appreciated greatly.
Awesome, that's great. I have a question basically for everybody. VIR is so special because the GTs have their time to shine here. You're not racing with anybody else. You guys are, you know, it is your time to shine. What makes VIR so special that you guys have that opportunity to just really go out there and show everybody what these GTs can do?
Jordan. I'll go. Yeah, I mean, VIR is special. I mean, it's one of the oldest road courses we have in North America. I think Paul Newman said if there was heaven on earth, it'd be VIR. So it's a beautiful facility. The guys here do an amazing job kind of being at the forefront of developing technology with runoff areas. So as a driver, it's always comforting coming here knowing that. And then the layout itself is just a joy to drive. All the elevation change, the S's. It's narrow. There's no room for error. So for a driver, it's very rewarding to drive on. And with it being GT only, it makes it kind of action-packed. I think most of the year with having your prototypes, it helps mix things up and creates opportunities, but here, you really need to nail every lap and not make any mistakes because it's going to be hard to make up ground again.
Alex, how special would it be for you to, you know, finish first overall and just finally get that chance with the GTD Pros to be just the main event, getting the checkered flags, getting there, not the like, you know, like, oh, everybody's celebrating this, and then you guys come across how special it is that you guys got a chance to finish first.
Yeah, I feel like that is one of the special things about both Lamrock and here, where, you know, it's just GT cars and GT only, so we get to be like the main center of the entire show. And I mean, I cannot count how many times I've you know, finished the stint and gone to my engineer and be like, did you see that pass? Like, around the outside, did you see it? No. Showing the battle in the VI. Who do you think you are? So, hopefully, if we have some nice battles tomorrow, we get some proper coverage, and that's gonna be excellent. I'm really happy to be here as well. Coming from Europe, all the racetracks over here are, I mean, so much better. And, you know, no runoff areas, no nothing. It's just like you do a mistake and you pay for it. And I feel like that is how racing should be. So it's a lot of fun.
For a lot of us who never get the chance to be on the racetrack, Brian, I have a question for you. how fast are you guys really going when you're going up those uphill S's?
Don't ask Brian, he always exaggerates.
I don't. To be honest, I don't know what the speed is. We are, for us, we're top of fifth gear, almost into sixth. So I mean, maybe it's.
Do you lift or not? Or,
Do you lift or not?
We're probably close to
Come on,
mid
yes.
150s or something like that. But it's always the question is how fast do you go? How fast do you go? And a lot of times the top speed is actually so unimpressive when you're sitting in a group like this and they say, oh, how fast are you? No, we hit 165 at the end of the straightaway, and everyone's like, oh. It's not like 200 or 205. No, it's
165 sounds really fast to me going
But
into those uphill
as a
S's.
spectator, if you go to the uphill S's or the end of the back straight and actually realize where the car starts to decelerate, it's where it's extremely impressive. We're like past the turn barrel at the end of this. So, you know, the cars now have evolved so much that we at the end of the straightaway into turn 14, you know, we have markers and then a turn arrow, and you're somewhere in between the last marker and the turn arrow. So there's 50 whatever yards from the apex. So that ends up being the more impressive thing about what these cars can do now is the cornering speeds, the deceleration speeds, and not even so much the acceleration.
Now, I'm sure everybody's been noticing the south bend of the track.
That was to her, not to you.
The south end of this track is a little tricky. You know, just tell us, you know, in your opinion, what makes it so tricky. You see some cars running off the...
Yeah, which is the south end? Is that like the hog pin section? Okay.
Yeah.
Slide off that.
Ultra hog pin. Hog pin is extremely difficult. It's a fourth gear section, which is high speed, and there is, you know, it's very line specific. Like Jordan said, it's very narrow, and as Alex said, there's really no room for error over there. But also, you're going at a high rate of speed. You have to use a bunch of curbing. Your rolling speed is important along with your full throttle point for the run onto the front straightaway. So often you see a lot of errors there because there's a lot of lap time that can be made in that section. And it's a constant balance of, you know, how light brake pressure you can use versus how early throttle you can apply. And that's not always the best combination for safety, right, or for repeatability. So you will definitely see, like in qualifying, that's where people will take quite a bit of chances because it is one of the areas that you can truly produce a lot of lap time.
Now, for all the fans who have never been here before, if you guys were not racing in the race, where would you be watching the race from here at VIR?
The shade.
Besides the
Not
shade.
exaggerating.
Yeah.
I think actually, to go back to what Jordan and Alex were talking about VIR, to me it is one of the best things about VIR is their evolution of the spectators and what they've done for the spectators. And we go to a lot of really great tracks, in all honesty. This isn't the only one that we're fortunate enough to attend. So I think as drivers, what you start to do over time is rate the tracks on the events they put on and the amount of fans and the support you have there. The more people you have, the more enjoyable it is for us. So that's what they bring. I would say, you know, I would be super interested to go to the inside, the new fan zone, like inside of kind of turn 5 area where they set up the camping in time to turn 1 because you can see a lot of action. And for me, it would be, you know, kind of seeing the run down to turn 1 for passing and then the mistakes into 3 and 4 and 5 always create a lot of drama during the race.
3 as well. Like 3 is tricky because you're braking and turning at the same time.
Listen, I said 3.
I was reinforcing your 3. So you're braking and turning at the same time, and like every other lap, it's a challenge to get through there without going off. So you see a lot of action over there, and a lot of people going off. And so I think, and it's in the shade, so you know.
Best of both worlds, Rob, since it's your home track.
So I would agree with all of that. And there's kind of behind 4 and then up to the road. So if you can find a spot where you can see cars coming out of the lower S's and then, you know, to Brian's point about how fast and how you drive up the S's. So cars coming out of the lower S's, and then be able to see the view up the hill, up the S's, just to truly watch how fast those cars are going up and away, and how they're hitting the curbs and picking air up. Like it's, for me as a fan, I've always loved watching the uphill S's and just watching how committed the cars are going up the hill, catching the curbs, and the dance that you have to do to get up there and stay flat.
But it's only 160 miles an hour.
Yeah. Now, first of all, round of applause. How many Corvette fans are out there right now? How special is it to get a chance to race that Corvette just at every event at IMSA?
Yeah, I mean, it is special. I think growing up around the sport and the IMSA paddock, you see the longest autograph line, and the Corvette corral is always the biggest. So, it comes with a lot of fans and a lot of support. Not so much Porsche and BMW.
You know what though, FAF in Canada, FAF had a pretty long line in Canada.
They were paying them off though.
To be fair, most people are there for you, not Corvette. Like if you look at Instagram or Facebook or anything else, who's your favourite driver? George Taylor. I literally have to scroll down like 300 pages to find one person that says Catherine Lake.
At least you find someone.
That's special. I mean, they're wearing Corvette Racing shirts. They're not wearing George Taylor. But yeah, it's an amazing brand. Obviously, being an American, driving for the American brand is always special. And we definitely miss the old engine note of the V8. It's definitely different. Even the drivers miss that rumble, but from a performance point of view and a production point of view, it's definitely made the car more reliable, more drivable, and performance was raised.
Now you have so many passionate Corvette owners out there. How many times do you have people come on up and they have to tell you everything about their Corvette that they have? Every single thing. And then, I'm sure.
Yeah, I don't want to say it. Not that often. No, only at the racetrack. Really, it's kind of funny. On the streets, you'll see someone. Like I ride my bike a lot outside, and I ride in like a nice roads where on Sundays guys go in their cars and drive real fast, and Corvettes will come by and they rev their engine at me, and I'm like, oh man. But yeah, I mean, it's cool to see the passion. I mean, at Road America, the Corvette corral is huge there, and we get to walk through the whole corral and see cars, and everyone wants to show you their car and all their little upgrades, and it's cool to just see the passion that they have for the brand and for their car, and it's kind of why we love coming to track every time.
Now speaking about, I know that you were talking about the different engines and stuff. Are you excited about the E-Ray? The Corvette E-Ray that's going to be eventually coming out?
Say no.
Say no.
Say no.
Say no.
Say no.
So Corvette is coming out with an electric version of the Corvette. See, this is what you're supposed to know about.
We'll talk to Ryan Smith.
Okay, we'll talk about the E-Ray.
They just asked me to drive the car.
So we got a couple of questions that we're going to get to from our fans in the stands. We have a question from Lois. Lois, can you raise your hand right there? This is for Brian Sellers. This is the first question. This is like a Brian Sellers question.
You did that on purpose, didn't you?
Yeah.
I don't feel so bad anymore.
Lois says that Paul Millard is the first year with BMW. How are you finding the adjustment to BMW?
Honestly, up and down. You could sit here and say it's been an easy transition, but it hasn't been. We've certainly had our races where I feel like we've been really strong, and then we've had our races where I feel like we were completely lost. We tell ourselves that that's probably normal in this scenario, that getting a new car that's completely different from anything we've ever had before, that you're going to have those ups and downs. And so we've been trying to do as much homework as we can to minimize those things. Obviously, the performance of the BMW has been extremely strong. It's been fast. It's been fairly reliable up until this point, but it's starting to minimize some of those ebbs and flows and the dips that we've had. We need to be able to kind of get to the point where we're good everywhere we go, not just on a track that kind of accepts the car more than others. So I think when you look at what our team has done, you have to be pretty proud. The guys have done a great job of making sure we have made every session, to make sure we finished all the races, had no mechanical failures. But I think, kind of on the upper portion of management and driving and engineering, that we all have to be better, figure out more what the car needs.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Phyllis. We have a question from Ed, and this is for Rob. Since this is your home track, do you ever win here? And, in anything? And what is your most special moment at VIR so far?
Woke up this morning, I've never won here. So yes, I have won here. I won a lot in club racing. I don't think I won when I was in Cup. I can't remember. I think it was P2, Sebastian and Rob. Yeah. But no, I've won here predominantly in club racing, and then was very competitive in Cup. I think for us, ironically, it's a difficult weekend because there's a lot of expectation because we are the home team. Like, oh, we live there, so therefore you should be competitive. To Brian's point, each of the cars have different strengths and weaknesses. You've got BOP, you've got pre-codes with the tires. There's a lot of things that go into it that extend beyond whether or not you know the track. But I love it here. I love racing here. I feel like we can be competitive here. At this level, it's very difficult to be competitive because the window is very small and everyone, like Brian said, is out there competing, excelling, refining, and just doing the absolute best they can in the best series in the country. And so it's hard, but we like the challenge, and we'll see what cars got second.
Awesome, great question, Ed. We have a question now. I will pose this to Alex. This is a question from John. Who is the toughest competitor to pass in GT Pro?
To be honest, Jordan Taylor. Because the car is so beautiful.
You want to take a picture when you're going past.
Just like you put your nose in it like, nah. I want to look at that ass.
Well, John, hopefully that answers your question, John. That was awesome. That was awesome. Now, Matt has a question for the drivers. Jordan, you wear glasses. Did anybody, get LASIK surgery or anything like that? Or you guys wear contacts or anything? All right. Contacts. Was there ever a time that, I know with my contacts, and I don't know how you do it, is there any times where you're driving and you're a little dry or...
Don't jinx me, no. So, I've tried wearing glasses, but my eyesight is so bad that when they move around inside my helmet, it changes the prescription. So it's not really good about racing. Right. If I ever lose a contact. Yeah. Charming, Brian, charming. So I've luckily never had a problem with contacts. I want to get LASIK, but I'm going to do it when I stop racing just in case anything goes wrong. Although you've had LASIK, haven't you?
Yeah. Best investment of my entire life.
Perfect. There you go, Matt. There you go. Now, we have a question from Billy, and this is for any of the drivers. What other forms of racing would you like to try?
All of them.
Now, this is also a question for kind of on that same line. We know about your family, Jordan. Everybody knows. Is there any times that you just go, Ricky, give me the keys. I want to get the DPI this weekend. Yeah. Is there any times you practice and get into the other cars and stuff, or he'll get in yours? I don't know how that works, but as a fan, it might be a stupid question. But for us, we think like, hey, your brothers, you know them.
No, I haven't gotten offered that.
We used to track DPI.
It's such a professional program. They don't want just some random person coming over there, especially with GM having the Cadillac DPI. Or LMDH, they'll probably share secrets back and forth. So I would never do that, obviously. But no, I've never done that. My dad's often joked about getting in the car and stuff at a test day, but never offered me.
Brian, how did you get in the sport? We have a question from Kristen. Just how did you get your start?
I'm not an incredibly intelligent person, so when I was young, I needed something to motivate me to do well in school, and that's kind of how it started for me. My dad raced a little bit when he was younger, along with his brothers, and I grew up like looking at pictures, seeing photo albums, seeing some trophies and things like that, and at one point in time, my dad's like, hey, you're gonna need to get better grades, like you gotta get better grades. So we'll pick an activity to do as a family, and we'll progress through that, but you gotta get above a B average. And so I'm like, well, I wanna go racing like you used to. And he's like, pick any other activity that you wanna do. But I kind of stood firm on it, and that's how we started. It's what I did as a sport with my family. We traveled and karted with my younger brother and my parents, and I had to get B average, which was really difficult for me.
Do you think that for all the, I see some kids out there, for all those youngsters out there, do you think karting is probably the beginning steps, the way to go, the first?
Yeah, I think probably we would all agree that the things you learn in karting carry you throughout your entire career. And it extends probably more than just the driving itself. I would say it extends more into the race craft and the race ability and understanding how a race unfolds. When you learn that at a young age, it's, number one, it's a lot more cost effective in a kart to make mistakes than it is in a race car. And two, you really learn what it's like to battle closely up against the other person. So I think everyone else should probably answer on that too, because most of us have gone through that. But I think for me, it's the one thing you cannot replace about being in a go-kart, and that is, racing side to side with somebody.
Anybody else want to touch upon that?
I agree with everything Brian said. I think today costs are so high for anything